back to another episode of The Biggest Transformation. I'm so excited to be here with you today because we are continuing to follow the cast of season 1, the 7 people who are in the cast of The Biggest Transformation. We're following their journey. We're following their weight loss. For many of them, we're following them on what has been a lifelong journey battling this thing called weight. And over this past week, I could not be prouder to be a part of this with them, watching them battle emotional eating, watching them overcome the things that have held them back in the past, figuring out what are those things that have stopped them in the past. And you're not going to want to miss today. Today's episode is going to be so powerful. We've really been working on those things that have been stopping them, those things that we tend to push way down deep and we don't think about and we don't talk about and we don't even, they're the things that we only let go between our 2 ears. And we're digging that stuff up so that it has stopped them in the past, but it's not stopping them in the future. So I hope you're ready. It's going to be a great episode. Let's go ahead and jump on with the cast, get our weigh-ins done, and see how they did.
Good morning.
Let's get our weigh-ins done. Let's get that out of the way. And then we'll chit chat. I have the order on the board in which we're going today. So if you can see, can everybody see the names, your order?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I know you guys are all super excited to see this in the background, weren't you?
Yeah.
Denise is 286.4.
Yeah.
355.2. Is that what that just said?
Yeah, sorry, I got muted again. 355.2.
Let me see it and tell me.
$156.8.
156.8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Judy?
$229.6.
Karen? 193. All right. Andy?
All right.
$228.0.
Thank you, Peggy, for shouting that loud for me. And last but not least, Miss Ashley. $223.2. Okay. So Shane, you lost 9 pounds last week?
Like I said, this morning I weighed in at 354. I was going for that 10 pound, but yeah, 9 pounds.
Wow, you go. Awesome job. Wow. So since we started, since day 1 of prep week, you guys have lost, since the first time we ever stepped on a scale as a group, you guys up to this point have lost 127.6 pounds.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Last week when we got all done, I added it up. After last week, it was exactly 100 pounds. You guys lost 27.6 pounds. You as a group lost more this week than you did last week. Congratulations. That's pretty spectacular, actually. Okay, so in first place right now with 7.8% of their body fat lost is Karen. Still carrying first place this week. Good job. Coming in at second place with 5.9% of your body fat lost is Shane. Congratulations. And Shane, you have lost a total of 31.4 pounds since our very first weigh-in.
Yep, I feel it.
That's crazy. Like, yeah. How much does Kara weigh? How much does your daughter weigh?
40 something, 41.
Okay.
I think.
So you almost lost your daughter.
Mhm.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Third place right now. Actually, Shane, I'm so sorry. Second place, I'm so sorry. It's actually Andy, 6.2%. Andy, I'm sorry, I was skating right by you. So first place is Karen. Andy, you're still holding down second place, 6.2%. Look at you. You didn't eat 2 pizzas and you're still ahead of Shane. Oh, third place, Shane. You're creeping on him. 5.9%. You made up some ground, brother. You made up some ground. 5.9%.
Coming for you too.
Coming in fourth place is Denise at 5% exactly. At sixth place, no, fifth place, Peggy, 40% or 4%, 40%. You'd be like, hello. 4%. Good job. Sixth place, Ashley, 3.6%. You have lost 3.6% of your body fat. So awesome. And Judy, 3.3%. Good job. Awesome job. You guys are doing, so since our very first weigh-in, our very first one, Shane, you've lost 31.4 pounds. Denise, from the very first weigh-in, I'll just go with 15.2. Peggy, 14.2. Andy, 22.6. Judy, 12.2. Ashley, since our very first weigh-in, 13 pounds. That's crazy. Cray. All right. Your total was 25 pounds since that first weigh-in, Karen.
Wow. Wow.
It's really crazy. So anyway, I look at those numbers and if I'm just being honest, it like, I do focus on those numbers, but it really brings me to tears. It just, because you guys are doing it. You're doing it. You are on the road. You are on the path to your goal. And you know, what you're discovering is you're discovering what your body does, how it responds to certain foods, how it responds to lack of sleep. You're learning, if you're a chick, how it responds when it's that time of the month. Like, you are learning how to say no to temptations. You're learning how to go out to dinner like you did last night on your birthday, Judy, and still enjoying your family and a night out and celebrating you, but saying no. You know what, guys? You have the cake. I don't need it. And you know what's so powerful is your daughters are witnessing that. So often as parents, we're like, you know what, or grandparents, we give this excuse of, well, we don't want to say no to the cake on our kid's birthday or on our birthday because what would they think? They would think you're a woman of your word. They would think that you work hard. They would think that you do what you said you were going to do. That's what they would think. So often we get it twisted because when we show the opposite example to our kids of saying one thing and doing another, what we show them is our word doesn't mean anything. So it is completely okay for our kids to see us say no, for our kids to see us make a choice that maybe we don't want to make in the moment, but that we should make, that honors our word, that goes to a bigger cause, which is us being the best version of ourselves. And so I have discovered over the years that there is power in that. And those choices, you are leading when you're making those choices. Leaders have the ability to do the hard things even when they don't want to do them. Leaders have the ability to make the correct decisions when they're faced with hard choices. And every single one of you, whether you view yourself as a leader or not, you're a leader. And this past month, you have led so well. And I'm so proud of you. So congratulations. Good job. You really are doing amazing. I can't believe we're already like 3 full weeks into this, 4 weeks with prep week. It's kind of crazy. Is it flying by to anybody else? So what I would like to start with is your lists. Did everyone bring their list today? Your list. Peggy and Annie are looking at each other like, what's she talking about? What's this crazy girl talking about?
I email the list, but that's fine. I know what it is.
Okay. Yeah, it can be wherever your list is at. So we're going to just go in this order. And I want you to share your list with us.
So even if the list is long? All right.
Yeah, if the list is long, if the list is long, that's fine. I want you to share them.
Okay. Want me to start?
Yes.
All right. You are fat. We all are. Always having to use larger blood pressure cuff made me embarrassed for surgeries and doctor's appointments. From the mouths of my children when they were little, why are your arms like jello? Why are your arms like tree trunks? Why are your legs larger than dad's? Your stomach is very big and jiggly. And then I talk about when I was in school as a teen, things that I was said, or things that were said to me. Do you think any guy could like you? You are ugly. You are too emotional. No guy would ever look your way. You are annoying. I was teased, cornered in the bathroom at school. I was told you are a crybaby, tattletale. I was taunted to watch my back on my way home from school. Someone was going to get me and beat the crap out of me. Boys would walk by me outside as I was sitting on the ground eating my lunch and casually rub my leg on my arm and bug me that I thought they liked me, but only to tell me that I was stupid to think that and they would laugh at me. I was mocked in gym that I would never be good enough to play sports. I hated changing in the change rooms. They would say all sorts of things. Can't remember them all, thank goodness. I was whistled at walking down the hallways, but in a mocking way. Sorry, my cat. I was told I dressed ugly. You must dress from the thrift store. I was 4 eyes because I got glasses. In my yearbook, one girl wrote, roses are red, violets are blue. If I had a face like you, I'd puke too. I could go on and on. I lived in fear daily of what would happen the next day at school or on my way home from school and started to believe all the lies, and I hated who I was. And that's when my eating started. When dating my husband, I was feeling self-conscious about my weight, and he said he would find me attractive as long as I didn't get heavier than him. I know that he meant that as a comforting statement, but when I got heavier, nope, get out of the way. This kept coming back to me, and I wasn't sure if he actually still found me pretty. I was told don't wear clothes with stripes or anything white or too much color. It makes you look larger and draws attention to your weight. Early on in my marriage, my father-in-law was mocking a larger lady he had seen somewhere, and it felt directed at me. It was during that time that I had been putting on the weight. And I knew that he didn't seem to find larger women attractive. And so it was hugely humiliating. Also early on in my marriage, as my weight increased, my mother-in-law would constantly make suggestions on vitamins for her son and food I should make so he was healthy, scared that my weight struggles would affect her son. It made me feel like a loser as a wife, and I was disappointing her. She has since passed away, and we made everything good between us. But this question, or these questions that she had, or ways that she talked to me, made me question how the rest of the family felt about me as his wife. I'd been to Target when it first came to Canada, and I noticed they had no plus size clothing. I asked the lady why not. She said because they didn't see a need for it. When I said, so only overweight people in the States can buy clothes? She said they wanted to see what the needs were first, and if they felt there was, they would bring it in. I felt very rejected and hurt because I too want to wear clothes that make me feel pretty. Then I went to Reitman's a while back and found out that they took out all the plus sizes out of their stores, and you could only buy them online now. And I asked again why. They had no idea. And it made me feel like, why do I not matter? And again, once rejected about, I can't buy clothes like everybody else. After one of my surgeries with my knee, I had a follow-up with my surgeon. My mom came along with me. She was waiting in the waiting room, and the surgeon said very loudly, and she could hear it from the waiting room, you are fat. If you would just lose the weight, you wouldn't have so much trouble. I had to walk through that waiting room. I was so embarrassed because I knew that everybody had heard. Even if he was correct, it still was mortifying. On a trip a year and a half ago, we flew to Europe. I had never had to ask for an extender on my seatbelt before. The stewardess kept asking what I meant because she couldn't understand me and was asking louder and louder. I was with my son and my husband, and it felt humiliating. About a year ago, I was visiting my son in BC. We were visiting this family that are from China. And when they wanted to take us out for supper, and they thought the best spot for me was in the back of the van. She is a super tiny lady, about half my size in weight and height. I sat there feeling like an absolute giant and mortified. Even though they didn't say anything, I felt disgusted. I've had so many looks. I've had so many things said to me. I've not been able to fit in chairs. I've had chairs break beneath me. I've been sitting in chairs sometimes where it would dig so much into my hips and legs I would leave with bruising or red marks. I've had questions, why do I have cauliflower on my legs? What's with all the marks on my stomach? I've even had a doctor tell me they didn't know if they could do surgery because my stomach was too large. I've been rejected from amusement parks, rides, even though I'm not a big rides person. I've even tried going on play structures with the kids and sometimes was too scared to go on any of the slides because I didn't know if I'd fit and get stuck. There's many, many more, but that's what I could come up with.
I think it's amazing that you went for it and that you had the courage to go there, because that's where change starts, is getting over the things that have held us back. And so, Denise, on behalf of all those people who were ignorant, who didn't know any better, who judged you for an outward appearance, who said things that they shouldn't have said, who didn't see, who couldn't see the real you and how perfectly every fiber in your being is knitted together. I stand in proxy for all these people, for all those people, all those things that were said. And I want to ask you, will you please forgive me on behalf of all the comments, all the looks, all the remarks, all the judgments, all the ignorant statements? Please forgive me.
Yes.
I want to hear the word.
I will forgive you.
Thank you. You gotta say it.
I will forgive you. I need to forgive. I know that. And that's the big thing I'm dealing with in counseling, is the reality of that, what these words have done to me and how much they have programmed in my mind. And I think out of those thoughts instead of truths. And that's what I'm working on right now.
But I want you to hear me on this right now. So often we camp out in a victim mentality. We turn people's words into weapons against ourselves. We allow ourselves to become or think we are what other people said we are. Or we choose, and I'm going to tell you it is a choice, to take years to get past this stuff when it can happen in a moment. You know, something happened, and it wasn't actually, it happened before I lost weight. And I'll tell you the quick story just so this is where I learned this at. Gosh, it was our first year of marriage. My husband and I went through some crap. Like, I'm not going to get into all of that here and now, but like sleeping in separate bedrooms, my husband seeing a divorce attorney, asking me for a divorce. I had no idea like why. Like, I knew there was some like stuff that we didn't have the best first year of marriage, but I had no idea it was where it was. And yeah. And in a moment, in an evening, I kicked him out of our home. I said, get out. He went to a hotel. And throughout the next 24 hours, I found out what had happened and why our marriage was where it was. And we both had a part to play in that. And I had watched other friends and family go through similar things. I had a really close friend of mine went through something very similar. And I watched her struggle in this for 5 years. I watched her go to counseling. I watched her own it. I watched her take blame for it. I watched her struggle. And I watched her marriage struggle. And I made a moment in that decision. I'm going to move forward with my marriage. And I'm going to fully forgive my husband right here and right now. And within 24 hours, our marriage was completely healed. 100%. We left that afternoon. And there's 2 people on here that witnessed that. Jen, Shane's wife, got the call that morning that said, here's what happened. And then that afternoon when I said, hey, y'all got to run the joint because we're taking off. And we disappeared into the mountains for like, I don't know, a week or something. I refuse to let the past own my future. I refuse to let the past take any more joy, to steal any more joy than what it already had. The past had already robbed us of joy. And if I continue to stay stuck, if I continue to stay focused on that, it not only was responsible for robbing the joy then, it was going to continue to rob the joy in the future. So I'm going to tell you, I don't care what any freaking therapist says. They get paid to keep you there, to keep you stuck. Not all of them, but some of them. If they can keep you sitting in that chair and they can keep you stuck and they can keep you on this vicious circle of going around and around and around, it's in their business's best interest. And I'm not attacking your therapist, Denise. I'm saying in general. You all are overcomers. Do not let these past words continue to steal your joy. They've stolen enough.
Yeah.
In a moment, you can make a decision. I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm over this. I forgive all of you for what you said and how you made me feel, and take ownership of your feelings. And I'm going to choose walking forward. I'm no longer going to feel like this. I'm no longer going to allow myself to use these things as weapons against me.
Yeah.
No, you take a stand right then and there. And so it doesn't mean that I never had thoughts about what my husband had done, what he had did, what he said, pop into my head. Because our head doesn't forget as easily, our head doesn't easily forget as quick as our heart can. But when those things would pop up, your husband did wah, 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 wah. No, he is a good man, and I have forgiven all of that. I choose joy, I choose restoration, and that is not who he is. Choosing to stand on truth versus emotion. Choosing to stand on truth versus lies. Choosing to stand on my future instead of focusing on what was done in the past. So often we run around letting our past define us, letting our past dictate where we go in the future. Enough. Denise, you don't have to spend the next 5 years in counsel to move past those things. You have to make a decision here and now. I'm done. I have let this control my life for too long. And as we start owning, yeah, I got marks on my stomach. It's part of my journey. And someday they're going to inspire people. I'm going to be able to lift my shirt, show my marks, and say, this is where I was. And this made me stronger. And it helped shape the person I was. And now I can help others. Now I can be an inspiration. Now I can be healthy, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And many of you don't know what that's going to be yet, and that's okay. Go ahead, Denise.
I was just going to say that I agree with 100% what you said. Absolutely. I am done living with walking into a room and feeling like the world hates me.
That's right. That is the past, and it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Yes, there's people that judge you. Yes, there are. But you know what? Even skinny folks get judged. The truth. My husband and I will be out on a date night and I'll have a tight dress on and I get all kinds of looks. Mostly from women. Women are like mean little suckers. They'll be like, and my husband, he's like, he's so mouthy. He's like, yeah, you're just jealous. I'm like, shut up. He gets like defensive for me. And he's like, don't you ever think about not wearing that. He goes, anybody who gives you a look, he goes, they're just jealous because they can't wear that dress. I'm like, I know, shoot. I've been there. I look at those skinny chicks and been like, and it wasn't hate against the skinny chicks. It was my lack of self-worth that, you know, whatever. And
Yeah.
so, listen, people are going to judge. People are going to say crap. People are going to do whatever. Let them do their crap. Let them steal their own joy. Don't let them steal your joy. Anyway, okay, let's move along. I'm going to step off my soapbox.
Thank you, Carmen.
You are welcome. Shane. You next, brother.
I get dirty looks when I wear tight dresses too, Carmen. I'm just gonna say that.
I'm in good company.
Yeah. Well, I thought quite a bit about this, and my list is not very long though. So I've been called fatty and squishy, and you know, kids have the, you know, no filter, fat, huge belly, things like that. As I was thinking about the things that were said to me, I realized that I am by far the worst offender. My defense mechanism was to beat them to the punch, even though most of them probably would have never punched. So I've called myself lots of names, and made reference to my weight and being heavy and being big. I've often found part of my identity in being a big guy because I'm tall too and broad shoulders, but yeah, some situations that I remember making me feel very insecure, very bad about myself. The airplane thing is terrible, having to ask for that seatbelt extension. I've had to do that a few times, and you know, it's always embarrassing to do it and you feel terrible. I noticed that a couple of the flight attendants would actually come and like stand next to me and not look at me and just kind of like off to the side slip me the seatbelt extension so that nobody would see. And I could appreciate that. They're trying not to embarrass me, but internally, man, that hit hard. It's like, oh, they're embarrassed for me. Great. You know, like, oh, that's how they feel about me. One of the most devastating things was I've always wanted to go skydiving, and we actually set up a time where we were going to go skydiving and invited people to go with us. When it came down to it, I was not allowed to go because of my weight. They didn't have a harness to handle someone my size. And they said I could do it if I bought my own harness, which they said was like 10 grand or something. I never looked into it, but so Jen ended up getting to go with her sisters and my sister, and I cheered them on, but I was pretty devastated because it was my idea. Like it was me wanting to go skydiving. So that's still one of my goals. I'm going to get there. But yeah, I remember being just very hurt by that. And then I told you guys about the Corvette thing. My friend got that brand new car that he offered to let me drive, and I couldn't even like fit in the seat. It hurt. So yeah, those are the ones that I could think of.
Listen, don't compare yourself to my list is short. My list is long. The thing is that you dug deep, and I think you uncovered the biggest offender, Shane, which was yourself. And so funny because people either go to one extreme or the other. You either go to my extreme, which was don't talk about it, don't say it, or you put it out there so that nobody else does. And so, Shane, on behalf of all those people, any looks, any judgments, on behalf of your inner voice who chose to be the funny man, to beat people to the punch. Please forgive me on behalf of you, your inner Shane, and everybody else who's ever spoken against you, who's ever judged you, who's ever given you a dirty look, who's ever made assumptions about you based on a superficial outward appearance that has nothing to do with the man that you are, the husband, the father. Please forgive me.
I forgive you. I release you. I bless you.
There you go.
Here, I'll get out of the screen when you talk.
It's weird being in a group like this and not being such a big person and listening to everybody's stories. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here, but I do know why I'm here. Because my biggest offender has been myself. Because I'm not big. I'd never had comments about, except for my mom telling me that I had a double butt when I was in 5th grade. So I've lived with that. I dated someone who wouldn't let me eat. So when I got home, I ate the whole refrigerator, so just stuff like that. But it's an ear. And I don't know. I beat myself up more than anybody. So my list is short.
No, that's okay. And Andy, you're there.
Yeah.
So I want you to stand in proxy for anybody, those people, for Peggy's beating herself up. And I want you to stand in proxy and ask her if she'll forgive you, because you're right there. And that's more powerful than me through a screen.
Now you're gonna make me get emotional. Peggy, for all the people, for your mom, which I knew, and all the people who I didn't even know till now she had a boyfriend that wouldn't let her eat. But when I met her, she was so darn skinny, I had to fatten her up. But for that, for people that made you feel this way about yourself, would you please forgive me for all those people?
Thank you. I think it's good I didn't do my makeup this morning. Okay, Judy. Thank you, Peggy.
I thought my list was short. And then I probably most identify with Shane. I'm always the funny one, and I use that for my protection. And I think I dress well, put on my makeup, and rock my big self. And I'm my own worst critic. A lot of people don't say things to me that hurt my feelings, which I'm grateful for. I do enough of that myself. For Denise, I can't even imagine people like that. Ugh. But last week I told you about the person that said, oh, one said she's pretty, one said she's fat. That's a sticker. On my honeymoon, I couldn't go with my husband. We exceeded the weight capacity on a what do you call those things that fly in the air in Hawaii? Not skydiving, but maybe parasailing, something like that. my grandmother would always make comments. My aunt would always make comments. And then I think of something now that I kind of forgot, but I used to work for a skincare company that uh, I ended up being assistant vice president, and they were trying to make me a certain mold. At that time, I was probably 160 pounds, and they offered me trips, they offered me clothing, and actually, when I stayed at their house, um, they would run, they would make me run and do sprints outside, which is like, I think you'd pretty sure be arrested for doing that to someone now. Um, so I guess I got to go back and do my homework and email Carmen all those things because I gave you a nice short list, but now as I see the list is longer. Yeah, that's it.
Judy, on behalf of those ignorant people, the people that didn't know any better, that boy in the bar, every person who's ever given you a look, who's made you feel less than, who has judged you by this outward appearance, who has assumed things about you, who has said hurtful things, on behalf of you who have become your biggest critic and beat yourself up and give yourself ugly looks when you look in the mirror, please forgive me.
I forgive you.
Karen?
Y'all are making me tear up here. My number one, my very first one, and it's probably haunted me the most in my life, was my mom always shamed me. And I never considered myself obese. I mean, I wasn't in high school. But she got to the point where she would have me weigh in every week in front of her. And then instead of encouraging words coming out of her mouth, it was always shameful words. And I mean, maybe that's what she knew. I don't know. But you know, that's where my dieting began. I can remember doing soup diets. And I would get so excited about that. I mean, those were all the wrong ones, but you know, and this is the woman that you know, everything that anything that ever happened was food, you know. So but that was on the top of my list. I remember going to an event one time. My husband and I were, it was in Michigan, and we were at an event, and you know, I've always dressed nice, I've always put makeup on, I've always cared about how I look, and I just felt so pretty that day. And we were walking, and this man, I could hear him, and he was talking, and he said, like her, she looks so nice. And the woman that was with him looked at me and she says, her? You mean her? She's fat. And all that confidence that I had, feeling pretty and just feeling like I was rocking it, like when, I mean, bam, it was gone. The other thing too is having, you know, just my grandkids, and they don't know any better. You know, when you get the arm jiggle, you know, them just taking it and swinging it like this, or pushing on my stomach and saying, "What's that, Grandma? What's that?" They have never meant any harm by that, but things like that just really bothered me, and I would tell them, "Don't do that." I remember one time we were at a party, and I sat in a chair, and I was sitting there, and it just totally collapsed and broke. And nobody laughed at me, and no, I mean, everybody was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" But I was just, I just wanted to crawl away somewhere and hide because I was so embarrassed. And I just right away went to that weight thing. If I didn't weigh this, this wouldn't have happened. And who knows, it might have. That chair could have had been on his last leg, right? Or like Denise had said, I didn't think about that, but going into the doctor's office and, you know, I can remember so many nurses saying, well, your arm is large, so I have to get a larger cup. I thought, you know, and I worked in a doctor's office. I would never say that to somebody ever. But those are the things that came to mind for me.
So Karen, on behalf of the nurse, of that woman on the street, of yourself, of anybody who has judged you, giving you dirty looks, said things, your mother, who unknowingly was shaking her little girl's self-confidence, a mother who didn't really know what to do, but was trying to be aware, but unknowingly did all the wrong things there. Please forgive me.
I forgive you.
Andy.
My story is a little bit different. I didn't grow up heavy. Matter of fact, I was pretty athletic. I was a sprinter, so you can't be real heavy and sprint. And but where it happened, it's I mean, there's the ones where the little kid, you know, I talked about the kids making fun of my man boobs. I mean, there's just stupid kids saying stuff like that, but it still affected me. But I know they didn't even know what they were doing. So that's where my eating came from. They constantly degrade you. I would get fat. He'd say I'd have jowls. You have jowls, and make fun of me. And then one time I went on this crazy diet, lost 50 some pounds, and then I was too skinny. That's really where my eating started. I couldn't eating and drinking a lot. And I don't know if I ever became, I don't know what the definition of an alcoholic is, but I drank every day. So probably pretty close to it. Just mainly just to numb, just to get numb, you know. I don't do that anymore. And so, yeah. So, and then coming into this season, I think still emotionally, I don't know, maybe just in the habit of eating, you know, from all the hurtful things that went on, and the hurtful thing, it's just endless hurtful things. These people find your weakness and exploit it, and weight was the weakness.
And you know, everybody's different. Like it's not a cookie cutter, right? Like there's some similarities, there's emotions. Like the similarity in all of us is people or ourselves, which we're people, have allowed emotions, other people, to steal our joy. Sometimes that's ourselves, sometimes it's somebody else, sometimes it's us using the words. Well, it's always us. It's always us using the words or actions of other people as weapons against ourselves. And when we get to the point where we can realize, no, if that person points a gun at me, I can choose, you know, and so many times what we do is we take that gun from them. Yeah, they pointed the gun, but when then we take it and we use it on ourselves. And we have got to stop using other people's words, actions as weapons against ourselves, because we do it. And I don't even think, I got to tell you, when I first learned that, it was so powerful, because as I began to think through that, it was like, yeah, how many people's words or actions have I used as a weapon against myself constantly? And so Andy, I think that's amazing. So Peggy, will you stand in proxy, please?
Oh my gosh. Well, Andy, everyone else that has made you feel belittled or less than you are, will you please forgive me?
Forgive you.
I don't don't think I can say a word without crying.
Ashley, the non-crier, get up here.
Sorry, it took me a minute to hit the unmute. Ah, you guys are killing me. Oh my gosh. I have like been sobbing. This is brutal. Gosh. I had to get up and leave to get that. Anyway, I've had lots, and I think I've said this before. I don't know what it is about me, but I seem to attract people who feel like there's no boundaries. Whether at my expense. So whether it's humor or helpful suggestions or just ignorance. I get it all the time, and I always have. And I'm so tired. And I didn't do this homework until 10 minutes before the call, because I try so hard not to think about it, because it's always in my face when I don't want it. So why would I intentionally try to think of all the times? I'm tired. Have I said that already? Yeah, I get the pregnant comments all the time with my thyroid. Jeezy peasy. With my thyroid, the PCOS, I tend to, ever since kids, when all this hormonal shit went crazy in my body, I gained all my weight in my stomach. I've always been a busty girl with boobs and a butt, but I never had the tummy. So I had that cute figure even when I was plus. But once I had kids and the tummy looked like I stayed pregnant, the comments have never stopped. It's always, when are you due? Or I had a lady in an elevator say, well, in your condition, and I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, yeah, when are you due? I get it all the time. And it's almost like I always wear these like cover things, these cardigans, so that I can always make sure that I can cover, so that I can try to avoid anyone thinking that I'm pregnant. And anyway, and it's embarrassing for people I'm with too. So then I own their feelings as well. I own my embarrassment, and then I own whoever I'm with that has to feel embarrassed. For most girls, your wedding day is like the one time in your life when you want to just be really pretty. And I wasn't. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to lose the weight. And when we went for my bachelorette party, most girls like to wear that really skinny, cute little dress and wear the white sash and the little head thing. And I didn't want that attention at all, because I didn't feel worthy of it. And I didn't want anyone looking at me. I didn't want to wear white. My God, I've spent my whole life thinking white makes you look fatter. Why would they make a bride wear white? And my friend gave me these Disney ears. They were like Minnie Mouse ears, and they were white with sequins and a veil on the back. And I tried to make myself believe that I felt pretty and sexy that day. And we walked out of a restaurant with all my girlfriends and all my women in my family. And this girl on the street in the city said, oh, look, it's Miss Piggy, instead of a bride. And everybody laughed because I think they thought that like if they laughed, I would laugh and not worry about it. And it worked in the moment. But damn, if that comment hasn't played over and over and over in my head. And I've identified as that character. That no matter how much you put makeup on or dress pretty, you look like Miss Piggy. That's awful. It sounds funny. I could kind of make myself laugh about it, but deep down, it's awful. I've gotten a million of the "you have a pretty face. You just need to do X, Y, Z." Well, that basically is like telling somebody that you have no worth until. At my husband's friend's wedding this summer, everybody tried to pile into a little car so we could all ride over to the reception. And all the men jumped in first, and all the ladies jumped on top of their laps to try to pack as many of us in the car. And my husband and I was getting worried as I was watching more and more people pack in the car because I knew I was not going to be able to do what they did to condense the space. And when my husband got in, and I knew there's no way I'm going to be able to climb on top of his lap in the back of this little car, and there was one guy standing left, and I had to take a seat, and so he had to walk. And everybody in the car knew why, and I was mortified. On our last cruise, the manager at the gate, before they would even let you on a cruise ship, they have specific rules about pregnancy. And we noticed there was a holdup. They wouldn't let us get through, and they were calling these managers and all these managers over and having this private. And I go, "Is there a problem? Like, we're ready to start our vacation." And then finally the lady goes, "I'm really sorry to ask you this, but I'm sure you're not, but are you pregnant?" Again, the fucking pregnant conversation. No, I'm not. But I guess the girl that was checking us in wasn't sure, so she had to call her manager. And humiliation. And my dad offered me about 100 times that if I would lose the weight, he would buy me a new wardrobe, a whole new wardrobe. And he knew how to motivate me. But again, I never could lose the weight. So I never got the wardrobe. And I also felt like I never got his being proud of me. And my dad passed in February. So with him dying, also died that opportunity to make him proud. Anyway, just all of it.
I'm proud of you for being vulnerable. I'm proud of you for being willing to go there. We can't get past what we hide from. And we can't get past what we run from and what we try to shove down and pretend isn't there. I know this. And I know right now it doesn't feel good to talk about it, but as you shine light in there and you begin to clear that out, it will. Ashley, on behalf of all those people, on behalf of the woman on the street, on behalf of the girlfriends who say things that they have no business saying, on behalf of anybody who has ever assumed anything about you, anyone who's ever called you a name, given you a look, ignorantly asked if you were pregnant, on behalf of yourself, honey, I'm going to tell you right now, you didn't disappoint your dad. Your dad loved you for you. There is nothing you could have ever done to be less than to him. I want you to hear me. There is nothing. Your dad did not love you any less because there was a little more to love. You were the apple of his eye. I have no doubt that he went to meet his maker, proud of his little girl. And you need to walk in that truth because that is the truth. So please forgive me on behalf of the long list of people, family, friends, people you never even knew that made you feel less than.
Oh, I forgive you.
So this week, I can tell you one of the things you're going to do is you're going to take that list. This is going to be one of your homework. And this is the one thing I will tell you. This is one thing I do know. You're going to burn it. I don't care if you have to, you're going to write on the bottom of that list, on the back of that list. If you have it typed out, print it. If not, just jot a couple things down. It doesn't have to be, but you're going to write those things. And then I want you to write a little letter. I will no longer use these words as weapons against myself. I will no longer let these things rob joy, take joy from me. Sign your name, wad that sucker up, and I want you to burn it. I don't care if it's in a bucket, in a kitchen sink, take a metal bowl, put it on the front porch. I want you to burn it. And I'm going to do the same thing. So here's the thing. We just uncovered some things today. Many of you thought about some of these things for the first time out loud because, like Ashley said, how many times has she ran that over in her head about the Miss Piggy comment? How many times has she used it as a weapon against herself? Judy talked about last week, I said in college, and she's like, oh yeah, it plays in, Judy said it. I've said that to myself. I've played that in my head several times, and that was back in college. So as of today, no more. No more using that as a weapon against yourself. No more allowing the past to rob the future. If you don't know who you are, you will be who they say you are. You've got to know who you are and where you're going. And your weight, any extra weight, whether it's recent that you put it on, whether it's been a lifelong struggle, does not define you. It's where you started. It's not where you're staying. Everybody has a struggle they have to get through. Everybody. For some people, it's drugs. For some people, it's abuse. For some people, it's weight. For some people, everybody's got them. Everybody's got their demons. And right now for us, this weight is it. And it's the battle we're facing. But you want to know what? Did you see those numbers? 127 pounds since our very first weigh-in. So guess what? We're winning. We are winning. The weight's not winning. Not only have we lost the weight, we stopped the weight gain. We stopped it. So we're no longer gaining weight and we're losing. We're winning. And we're going to keep winning. You are going to be victorious over all of those things. And so I'm so proud of you.
Good thing it's a yoga day because I'm mentally done.
Seriously, Judy. Oh my gosh. Carmen, we're gonna need need a little warning next time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, I know.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That was a tearjerker. It was one of those mornings that I was like, you know what? I just had this thing. I'm like, I'm not doing my makeup this morning. And after that, I can just tell you, I'm so glad that I made that decision. Wow. Absolutely incredible. And to watch their tenacity, to watch them be willing to push through the hard things to get on the other side. I just know after this week, after uncovering those things that have been buried for so long, there's going to be such breakthrough. I can remember when I was journeying and losing those 161 pounds. This was something I had to deal with. And in the moment, it was one of the hardest things to deal with those things that people had said, to deal with those things that had held me back. But after I did, it was only hard in the moment. After I dealt with them, after I forgave, after I said, no, this does not define me, the freedom that came and the success, losing those 161 pounds, going from a size 22 to a size 2. And I know that they're going to be experiencing those very same things. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Oh, and besides that, let's not forget the fact that up till today, that this group of 7 people has lost 127.6 pounds. 7 people in less than a month have lost 127.6 pounds. They have lost almost completely what I weigh. They have lost almost to me. That's crazy. So anyway, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't. Share this. Everybody needs inspiration. Everybody needs to be inspired. And these people are an inspiration. They're inspiring. These stories need to be heard. So smash that like button. Let's help the YouTube algorithm push their stories out for the entire world to see, for the entire world to hear. We are in a place where our world needs inspiration right now more than ever. These 7 people need your support. So thank you for those of you that have shared the message, for those of you that have liked the videos, watched the videos, and commented with encouraging comments. Your support means more than you could ever know. So we will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, with the next episode of The Biggest Transformation.